Hi there, it's Chelle Fowler, and I have had a few requests to do some video tutorials, specifically around watercoloring, and so this is my first video, so welcome. It might be a bumpy ride, so strap in and let's get started. So this is the tag that I had featured on my blog, and I watercolored it using the Tim Holtz Distress Markers from Ranger. And so I just wanted to kind of show you how I use them and why I fell in love with them. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I did was stamp the Bird in a Circle stamp from Hero Arts onto a number 5 tag. And I did that with Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I heat set it, you don't have to, but I did just because I wanted to make sure that I didn't get any bleeding at all. And what I like to do is choose 2 markers, one lighter shade and one darker, so that I can blend the 2 together. So here I've chosen Spun Sugar and Barn Door, and I'm going to take the lighter of the 2 with the brush tip, and I'm going to go ahead and color all of the petals by just doing marker straight to paper. And I'm not too fussy about this at all. I have colored outside of the line since kindergarten, and I'm not about to start now. So I go pretty quick with this. And once I'm done with the base, then I go ahead and take the darker color, and instead of going marker directly to paper, I go ahead and scribble some of the ink onto my craft sheet. Then I take the detail tip water brush, also available through Ranger, and pick up some of that ink and go straight into the tag. And that water is going to activate that other ink, and they're going to blend together nicely. Notice as I do this that when I pick up the ink from my pile over here, that I am not going where I have the water droplets, because that's going to be a watered down version of the ink. So I'm just going in to get that concentrated ink. And once I get that kind of going, I just go in and get just a little bit more, and I just do a little bit darker in the centers. Because remember, when you're doing a translucent ink and you're layering it, each time you do that, it will get darker. And that's all there is to it. Really simple. To clean your brush, you squeeze onto your craft mat until it's clear. And that also gives me a little bit of a puddle to clean up the rest of the ink that's there. And now we'll go in with 2 more colors. This time I'm doing Bundled Sage and Forest Moss. Again, the lighter marker. First to paper. Don't take myself too seriously. Have fun when I'm coloring. I have good results with that, so I'm going to stick with it. And a little bit of ink. I tend to put way more ink out than I need. Here I just wanted a little bit, but look at my pile. So you'll do better conserving your ink. Again, squeezing until I'm running clear and cleaning up my ink. Now for the bird, I'm going to take some Stormy Sky, but I'm going to go straight on to the breast this time of the bird. But instead of staying in the same color family, I'm going to go in with Brushed Corduroy and scribble that onto my mat. Pick up my detail brush. Water it down quite a bit because I just want a really light coating on my bird. And you can kind of see there that I just have a really light touch with that. I'm going to clean my brush up, set it aside. I'm going to let that saturate in while I grab Spiced Marmalade and just do the beak very quickly, no shading or anything like that. And then I'm going to go back in, pick up a little bit more color, and then do a little bit more depth to my bird and kind of blend it out. And make sure I squeeze out all of that color and wipe up. And again, I just want to make sure I have all of that out, so I'm going to give a really good swipe again. And then I want to go in with my tumbled glass and do a scribble on there. And instead of doing a base here of marker, I actually just want to do some water. So I'm going to take my water brush and kind of saturate this area to get it nice and wet. It's going to make it so that the ink will blend nicely when I'm just using one shade. I want to just get some of that ink up and kind of just do a little bit of a swirl because I want it to be almost like clouds in the sky. And so I don't want to be too heavily concentrated with ink, and let the water kind of blend that out a little bit for me, like so. And a little bit darker in some areas, a little bit more ink. Again, because I'm layering, it's going to darken up as I go, like so. And now I got that really wet, so before I would want to ink the tag, which is my final step, I purposely skipped this outer ring so that that can dry while I do that. So I will just quickly color in that because I want that center to dry, and I'll show you why in just a second. And I could use my heat tool, but I might as well let it dry on its own while I finish this up. And just a little bit there. So that's my base, and again, if I go over in certain areas, just add a little bit more depth so it's not quite as boring. Clean up my brush and keep letting that center dry. Now I just want to make my circle pop, so I'm going to grab pumice stone, which I like to use for shading. Again, just a little bit on my craft sheet, and just go around and give a little bit of a shadow to the entire circle and around all my flowers. And it just kind of makes it pop off the page. If I want to darken an area, again, remember, if we go over with the same color, it's still going to darken because it'll layer on top of it. A little bit of shadow underneath the birdie, and clean up. Make sure I have all of that ink out of the brush. And if there's anything I wanted to go back and add, maybe I wanted to do a little bit more shadow underneath the bird, I can go back in and do a little bit more shading now that that's all nice and dry. So like so. And that, again, that's why I wanted that to make sure that that would dry so I could go back and add some more color. And then blot off, get rid of any water that I have laying there. And then that's going to be the coloring of the bird. Now, to finish off the tag, I like to go in just with my ink pad. So I'm using Vintage Photo here and an ink blending tool. I'm just going to get some ink and ink the edges of my tag. And that really helps you to focus on your central image. A little darker on my edges. And that's going to be my finished tag. I would just add a little bit of seam binding to the top. And that's my tutorial on the fantastic Tim Holtz Distress Markers from Ranger. And I hope you get a chance to play with yours soon. And thanks for stopping in. I'll see you again soon.